Hey everybody, it's Gary Lucas, and I'm here in New York City, here in the West Village, and I've changed the camera angle back to the original angle for today because I was just going to play a solo acoustic for you, and right through the camera without that Blue Yeti mic, and I think it sounds pretty good, and I think it looks pretty good too, although I'm using that vertical angle on this, but let's see. All right, here we go. A little bit of The Last Time, the first thing I ever heard by the Rolling Stones, and that's Brian Jones's riff, as I've mentioned several times. I have an article, kind of an appreciation of Brian on the occasion of a new documentary that's out, directed by Danny Garcia. That's called Rolling Stone, I think The Life and Death of Brian Jones, something like that. It's excellent. Some new interviews, new information, and if you're at all interested in this period of the Stones' history, take a look. I think it's kind of eye-opening, and my article is on pleasekillme.com, which is a great website that contains all sorts of very cool writing about music and music-related stuff in the culture. Definitely a worthy troll. You could spend hours and hours going through their archive. And speaking of archives, I'm, just today, got a guy on the line up at Yale in New Haven at the Sterling Memorial Library, where I spent many an afternoon and evening there. That was a central study habitat while I was at Yale, and they do have an amazing collection of stuff in the stacks and whatnot. And the reason being, I wrote what I was told at the time was the longest article that had ever run in the Yale Daily News, and it ran on October 2nd, 1972, and it was an appreciation, a review of their live show, and an overview of my then favorite rock group back in the day, and that is the band Family, featuring the great Roger Chapman and Charlie Whitney on vocals and guitar. Also Rob Townsend on drums. John Weider was the bass player for a while. The original bass player, Rick Gretsch, left to do Blind Faith. And Jim Cregan, who played with Blossom Toes, was in there for a while at the end. And they also had other members, Polly Palmer, this multi-instrumentalist. I was a big fan. Jim King on saxophone, I should mention. So, they had a show at the New Haven Arena, opening for Elton John, September 29th, 1972, which I attended, and previously during the day I hung out with the band in their hotel and interviewed them. So it's all in this really long piece with a picture of Roger Chapman. They sent a photographer down from the Daily News to shoot some of the show. And anyway, the guy found it on microfilm, because I'm hopeless with archives online. And the best he could do for the moment was to do screensaver grabs. And I got 4 of them because it's a long article. Maybe I'll post them later here. But I'm waiting because he thinks he can get better scans off the microfilm itself. But due to the epidemic, stuff isn't functioning normally and they're understaffed, blah, blah. So please be patient. But you see, I'm trying to augment my rock writing archive. I have a little webpage called Early Rock Writings under Writings on my website you could check out. And all of this is going online at Rock's Back Pages, which is an amazing collection of anyone who ever wrote anything about rock music, an illustrious list of writers. And that's run by Barney Hoskins, who's a friend of mine, who was at the Rock Writers of the World Convention in Memphis, which was the great league of all time, whereby many famous rock writers, including Lester Bangs and Richard Meltzer, Dave Marsh from Cream, a whole UK contingent, including Barney, were flown in by Stax Records, basically to hopefully review their new act from UK called Skin Alley, who were okay, as I recall. And Big Star played there too, more like prominently. Well, we had a ball for 3 or 4 days. Anyway, I have a few more pieces that I'm going to search for diligently in this period from other publications such as Village Voice. I wrote something on Black Uhuru there under the temporary editorship of John Pareles, who's been the chief pop critic of the New York Times for years, and he was a good friend of mine when we started at Yale as freshmen. He was in my class and lived pretty close by in the same dormitory as me, and we used to listen to Zappa and Beefheart music together. And anyway, so he took over that, and I got this assignment. I also wrote a few for Crawdaddy Feature magazine, which was the evolved Crawdaddy that Paul Williams had started. I don't know if these names mean anything to you, but they were these figures loomed large in my boyhood as gatekeepers and keepers of the flame of rock and roll. And anyway, so look for that. But right now I want to also hip you to this fantastic book. I'm almost through. Life and Times of Malcolm McLaren. This is backwards because I've got the reverse angle. It's by Paul Gorman, a UK writer who's written a lot, all sorts of pieces, and some on the fashion tip, and he worked with Malcolm for a while. And I'd say it's pretty definitive. It's also about 700, 800 pages, almost as long as Mike Barnes' book on prog rock, which I was pointing out to you, a month or so ago, but they're both excellent. and I'm enjoying this read a lot. Especially because they interviewed my friend Ellie Medeiros, who I hope is watching, who's down in Uruguay, in Montevideo, but Ellie was the lead singer of the Stinky Toys, probably the most prominent and maybe the first French punk band who actually did play the infamous 100 Club weekend that featured the Clash, the Sex Pistols, the Damned, Vic Godard, and Subway Sect, an early incarnation of Susie and the Banshees. And the Stinky Toys, I think, were the next week were on the cover of Sounds, which was a big UK weekly. Anyway, Ellie is an old friend and a collaborator of mine. And Malcolm just saw her on the street, according to this book, and was quite taken with her look. And said, "Are you in a band?" And it turned out she was. And also my friend Celeste Chong, who worked with Malcolm in what was going to be a Chinese music project of his to be known as the Rice Girls, kind of a parody of the Spice Girls with 4 Asian females. But that never really coalesced. And anyway, I met Celeste when I was making The Edge of Heaven, and she got drafted in on that, and she did a fantastic job. And so, all right, well, I'll play some more, okay? Shut up and play your guitar. a little bit of music from a live solo guitar score I composed for a beautiful piece of surrealist French cinema, René Clair's Entr'acte, which originally was accompanied by music, I think, by Darius Milhaud, maybe, or Stravinsky, maybe. I gotta check. It had an orchestral score, and it was... Anyway, I just took the film. I had a commission from the Film Society of Lincoln Center in 2000 by Sayre Maxwell, who headed up Silent Movies there, and she suggested this program. And I worked with that film. Also, Fernand Léger's Ballet Mécanique. What a beautiful, delirious piece of formally avant-garde cinema. Entr'acte has a little bit of a narrative, kind of, and it has also cameos by people like Marcel Duchamp and other major painters of the day. Max Ernst is in there. All of them congregating in Paris in the 20s when the film was made. The third film is a Russian animation by Ladislav Staryevich, who was also resident in Paris, and this is a really grotesque japery of stick insect figures that were actually insects that were somehow made into armatures and very painstakingly using stop motion techniques put through their paces, shall we say, and it concerns an adulterous affair of Mr. and Mrs. Grasshopper and their ant friend, and I don't want to give away too much, but I think this is available on my website on DVD, these three films with my score. In fact, I'm sure it is. So hop on over to GaryLucas.com. There's a whole world of pleasure, both visual and audio and audible. And my DVDs I'm very proud of because it took a long time to sync the soundtracks to the pictures. But there's one of the Golem, a beautiful edition that was actually sped up to my specifications in terms of the overall running time by an Italian film lab, because the way it's been released just deplorably for some years is they always pull it into what they call silent film mode, which is 18 frames per second, which is, to me, I mean, a dubious proposition at best, because back in the day, these films were hand-cranked. They didn't use motors on the projectors, so depending on the disposition of the projectionist on the day, you know, like what he had for lunch or what libations he had consumed before the actual job of projecting, you know, it was going to affect the film rate speed. And to look at the Golem in what is supposedly the normal speed for the film makes the film totally glacially paced. And when I started working with Walter Horn, my childhood friend, keyboardist, composer, collaborator on the Golem score, we got a hold of the Museum of Modern Art's print, which they'd had for years, and that was at sound speed, and so that's the score that we learn now. A couple of times I've been kind of stuck with a version, you know, that I didn't bring on the gig, and I just adjust and play more. I mean, I'm nothing if not an improviser, honestly, so... but anyway, so... what else? There's a lot of news, a lot of things happening, and I hope to have some really good news about a live gig coming up, but I don't want to jinx it by telling you the specifics yet. In the meantime, why don't you seek out and enjoy The World of Captain Beefheart, featuring the fabulous Nona Hendryx, who's just terrific on this record. Nona, you may well know from La Belle, and she did many solo projects. She's a very adventuresome spirit. And here she tackled a lot of the more R&B-ish Beefheart tunes, plus some of the weirder and wilder stuff. The Nero, featuring Gary Lucas, the complete Jeff Buckley and Gary Lucas songbook for the Ezer Disco label. These are 12 songs I co-wrote with Jeff. 5 never had been released before. They just existed on very dodgy bootlegs from live shows. And I got a chance to go in the studio thanks to the late Pierre Ruiz, who tragically died climbing a mountain in Sardinia 3 weeks ago. It's a big shock to everybody and still to me. But that album remains because he had the vision and the courage of conviction, as Mark Stewart has said. Now, this is coming out end of January, The Essential Gary Lucas. It's a double. It's a beautiful package. I culled the selection from 30 plus albums and some rare tracks, and the liner notes are by my friend Glenn Kenny, who's got this new book out about Goodfellas. Check it out. It's called Made Men. It's getting fantastic reviews. I wish he would send me a copy if he's got one. And the packaging is by Steve Byram, who's a great art director. Okay, let's see. I'm going to grab a bottleneck here. Just step over it.
We're your super.
Ah,
And we want to improve your
Caroline, Stiegen. Yeah, okay, well, what do we got now? I have to check the old clock. I know what we got a few minutes here. I don't have my list of patrons today, but I do know that Ken Hurwitz and Mi-Ling Tsui, they're right up there. Thank you very much. Carolyn Schultz, Peter Bull, I guess he's been a multiple contributor. Mark Green, every time I play, man, this guy, visits my virtual tip jar, which I would urge you to do, please. Please. Well, you don't have to, but, you'll feel better about it, and I sure will feel better about it. We'll all get well. Okay, what are we going to do? Definitely play something that's a bit on the tuneful side here for you. Yes, Nino Rota, Fellini, theme from Amarcord. One of the most beautiful themes. I remember so much, man. It's like I've forgotten more than you'll ever know, but I do remember. I can remember so clearly stuff that happened 50 years ago, whereas it's difficult to remember what I had for lunch yesterday. I got a call yesterday from my old friend Esther Cardozo from Havana. You can make calls through Messenger, and she's got Facebook down there, and it was crystal clear, because cell phones are blocked if you're in Cuba. And I'm going to go back to play in Havana, probably into early in the new year. And she runs a fantastic center called the Gaia Art Center in Havana Vieja, Old Havana. And I've had a great night playing solo concerts there and with various singers, including her sister, and the Milanese sisters, Haide and Sulaine. I just love playing in Cuba. I've visited there at least 7 or 8 times. And I also worked on some of her productions. One of the best that I remember was music for a series of tableaux based on the life and films of Michelangelo Antonioni, whose title in Spanish translated to God was not Antonioni. Maybe it was Antonioni was not God. Anyway. But more on that next time. And until next time, which is this Saturday, please everybody take care. Wear those masks. Don't listen to what the orange leader says. I mean, he's always trying to disparage the science. This is your best bet to stave off infection. I don't know about those great American road trips either. If you're going to do it, stay in the car as much as you can. All right, don't inflict it on us. All right, big kiss, big hug. I'll see you on Saturday at 3 p.m., okay? Bye now.